Alright, by now you've noticed one thing, hopefully. If not, I'm going to point it out to you. It is really hard to lose your work in ZBrush. Why? Because it's all right here in the tool palette. As I go along making these weird shapes and things, they all are still here, either in subtool form or tool form. Okay? Until you hit initialize ZBrush, and then all this goes away. Close out the program, goes all away. So just know this is your work in progress area, and if ZBrush does crash, everything over here goes bye-bye. Okay? But that's a different story. It crashing is one thing, you working in the work in progress and having all this stuff over here is another. Just be careful. Don't get too many of these things that you're relying on. And this leads me to the next topic. Subtools. Okay, so what happens? I want the ability to save all these, or ones I'm working on, or maybe make a few of these that interact with each other. How do I do that? Well, those are subtools. So here's the one that I have the ability to go up and down with. Okay, what if I did this? What if I took and appended a Z-sphere in this? Okay, and of course I could take that Z-sphere and move it around if I wanted to. I could go here and turn back off solo mode. So now I can see both of these. I can see the Z-sphere and I can see the original mesh. Well, this comes in handy. I mean, really, because now not only can I see the original mesh, but I can interact with the original mesh. And I'm going to take off the activate symmetry. And this is great for making things that just need to go, in and out of things, but you can't really identify where the original sub context was to begin with. Like this, for instance, that would have been a hard thing to do just by trying to place subtools next to each other. This is a lot smoother. And you can see me playing around here, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here shortly in the assignment. So if I hit A, you can see that I have this form, and what my job is here to make the form so it has some sign of balance. You know what I mean? Like it's not twisted onto itself. It looks nice. It's aesthetically pleasing to look at. Okay. There we go. So the closer you put these together, the harsher the change on a bend. So just kind of know that. Okay, so there we go. We got an interesting form. Two interesting forms that interact with each other. This one, what do I want to do with it? Well, I want to take and look at the first one and see how many levels of subdivide is there. There's 5, okay? So the second one, it would be nice to have equal amounts of subdivision between the two meshes. That leads me to another rule is, you know, when you're working with subtools, you should keep a balance between all your subtools. Reason being is you can combine these all into one shape and then reconstruct lower, and they will all do it at once. If one's at a different level, then it's going to be off balance. Okay, one will hold more detail than the other one, in other words. Okay, so down here below, I go to adaptive skin and I put this at 5. Okay, and then I can make an adaptive skin. And the adaptive skin gets launched into, here's these spheres, and here's the skin of it. As you can see, this time it threw it way up here for me to look at. Well, what I want to do is group that along with this one. So here's a skin, and I want to take and append the other skin. Okay, so what do I got? I got skins, and then I got Z-spheres. At this point, you can delete the Z-sphere model. Some cases you want to keep that, other cases you do not. In this case, I do not want to keep it. So I got 2 interesting forms. And if I take the first form, and I take that all the way up, and I have the other form showing, you can see they blend together quite nicely. Now, but anytime, let's say I take the standard brush and I brush across the form, notice it dead ends into the second form. Okay. Boom. So, being 2 subtools, you can do a lot with this. You can really get in the cracks and crevices of the things if I went to sculpt in here. Let's say I needed to get right in this area. Well, no big deal. I can sculpt in this area now. Okay, but before I would have had a hard time doing that. So that's the advantage of subtools. It gives you the ability to sculpt in weird areas and break up things in high-res chunks. In other words, this one could be 2 million polys, this one could be 2 million polys, but your system acts like there's hardly any polys going on. If you combine these two together, that'll be 4 million polys, and your machine will chug if you have a slower machine. But let's do that. Let's take the first subtool and merge down. Don't worry, this can be undone quite easily. So now let's see what happens. Well, now this gives me the ability to sculpt across the forms. Okay, nobody knows that these are 2 separate chunks of clay. And to get them back, I can turn on Draw Polyframe, go down below, and there's this feature called Polygroups, and I can auto group these, and it'll show the 2 different forms as they were before. If I hold Shift and Control over the top one, I can now sculpt on it, hit Shift and Control anywhere else, it unhides it. Shift and Control hides the opposite form. So actually, you know, subtools are nice, but I can quickly hide my stuff here without going into subtools. The only disadvantage of it is I can't have as many polygons here. Anytime I have 4, 6, or 8 million polys here, it's going to be slower than subtools. To get them back into subtools, all I do is have to go in here after I polygroup them and go group split. And now they're 2 separate subtools again. And I can do that all day long. Put them on, group them together, put them together. And they all maintain their levels. This is something different than previous versions of ZBrush. Sometimes you had to have them all at the same level and then group them all together. All that's changed. Okay. Alright, so that is Subtools. Enjoy. On to the next video.